This video is just to have a little bit of fun, just reimagining judo to make it a bit more applicable to MMA or a bit more easy to cross over to jiu-jitsu. So the match would start standing, just like regular judo, and you have your ring size. I put in 14 by 14, but it can be whatever suits you guys better, whatever you guys find the best. Time limit would be the same as the IGF, so 4 minutes. And then you also have a golden score for 2 minutes. So scoring would be a bit different. With this one, I went with a format of 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning 1 ippon equals instant victory. And then you have 2 wazari equals 1 ippon, 3 juko equals 1 wazari, and 4 kokas equals to 1 juko. Now, the way you win is if in a match you get an ippon by throw, pin, or submission, then you win. However, if none of y'all has scored any ippon during the match, after the match they'll see, okay, which person has the most wazari. So the person with the most wazari would win. If it's a tie, then they'll check the person that has the most juko. And if it's a tie again, you guys go into the golden score or sudden death. Now, for whatever reason, or it so happens that none of the judokas scored during the golden score, then they'll check the person that has the most koka. In this case, if somebody has the most koka, they would win. When it comes to referee, a referee can stop an ongoing match depending on a few factors. Let's say a player committed an illegal action, if it's in the best interest of the athlete's health, if a judoka's gi is ripped, or if they are bleeding, but he can't stop the bleeding within 2 tries of seeing the doctor. So when it comes to the belt system, I thought about changing it a little bit, shaking it up, making it a bit more like Judo, and I'll explain a bit later on as to how it's similar to Judo. But with this, so we keep all the colors the same. So you start with yellow, orange, green, blue, brown, and then black. So you'll get your first yellow belt. You'll get your first belt at 1 year of experience. Then when you have 2 years of experience of training, you'll get your orange. 4th year, you'll get your green. 6th, your blue. On the 8th, you'll get your brown. And then on the 10th, you'll get your black. However, there is an alternative that I also thought about. Perhaps making yellow belt. So half a year, so 6 months of training, you'll get your yellow. 1 years of 1 years of training is worth an orange belt. 2 years, your green. Your 4th, you'll get your blue. At your 7th, you'll get your brown. And then finally at 10, you'll get your black. So when it comes to tachiwaza, I thought about just making, all grips being allowed. And general things, let's say you guys are just fighting, you guys happen to go out of bound, they'll move you guys back in the middle of the mat. And this is what I told you guys earlier about making the belt system a bit more like Judo, in which that the further you go, the more advanced belt you are, the more you're allowed to do. In this case, comes with when you're orange, then you're allowed to attack the legs, so left legs such as double leg, single leg, or tegoruma, katagoruma. And then when you get to your green belt, then you're allowed to do things such as tomoenage, all kinds of sacrifice throw. This is just to give you guys more opportunity to work on your basics before you go to sacrifice throw. And obviously, things like you're not allowed to pull guard, be it jumping guard or just sitting down, which leads us into how throws are scored. If you want to get an ippon, you have to throw your opponent on their back and make sure you establish top control for 3 seconds. Think of it more like BJJ, in which within those 3 seconds you're not allowed to be swept or they're not allowed to escape from bottom. Now, the other way of getting a ippon, if you throw your opponent on their back and you stay standing. I'll show you guys a clip of it later on. Then Wazari would be just throw your opponent on their back. You don't have to stay standing, nor do you have to establish top control for 3 seconds. So let's say you do throw them on their back, you fall, but you don't control them afterwards. And then Yuko is just like IGF's Wazari, where you just have to throw your opponent on their side. And as I previously mentioned, I'm going to show you guys an example of what I mean by when you throw your opponent on the back and you stay standing. So in this video, See? Okay, yeah. In this video, you'll see they'll just throw their opponent just like that. They land on their back, and you stay standing. Uh, there's another example coming. Same deal. You throw your opponent on their back, and you stay standing. Just like any grappling sports, there's a few things that are going to be banned. Here's a few ideas of what I put in there, things to be banned in this reimagining of judo. You guys can pause the videos and look at it. When it comes to Newaza, this is where it's going to change a bit more compared to the IGF. And I know some of you guys are thinking about Kozen Judo or just BJJ, but this one's going to be a bit different than both of them. So the way Newaza works, in this one, you're allowed to do leg locks, but only straight if you are blue belt and above. Again, all grippings allowed. This time, you don't have the 30 seconds rule that's prevalent in the IGF. So if you guys are doing Newaza, you can continue to do Newaza until somebody wins, or until the match ends, or until something happens, the referee happens to stand you guys up. The emphasis is on interrupt flow, so the matches goes on, and if you guys happen to go out of bound, the referee will just tell you guys to freeze, and then they'll drag you guys back in the middle, kind of like how they do in BJJ. And the difference over here, unlike Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if a judoka decides that they don't want to do any newaza, they can do that by just standing up and de-engaging. If they do that, the referee will call mate, and then you guys will restart again in standing. Submitting, there are different ways of tapping. You have the verbal tap, so if they put you in a submission hold and you happen to scream, that counts as a verbal tap. If you can tap with your hands, you can tap with your feet. If your bone happens to break, or if they choke you unconscious, those will all be considered as tapping. When it comes to scoring in Newaza, you can get a nippon by submitting your opponent or accumulating points from an osaikomi that results in a nippon. Same thing in wazari. If you hold your opponent down long enough, you can get a wazari from osaikomi. Dakiake, thought about bringing it back just like old school judo had, but you can only do it if you're green belt or above. And you will notice that Dakiake have put it both in Wazari and Juko. I'll show you guys the difference, which one scores you a Wazari and which one scores you a Juko later on. When it comes to Yuko, you can get it from holding your opponent in Osaikomi long enough to get one, or Dakiwakare, but you must lift your opponent and then throw them. And then when it comes to Koka, if you sweep your opponent and you establish control for 3 seconds, you'll get 3 Kokas. If you just sweep your opponent and there's no control afterwards, you'll be awarded with only 1 Koka. And when it comes to Osaikomi, I'll give you guys a full rundown on what I mean by Osaikomi a bit later on. But first things, we're going to see what's the difference between a Dakiake for scoring Wazari and a Dakiake for scoring Yuko. Dakiake that results in a Yuko, it's you hold them up. So they have to be at your hip level, as you can see from the picture from the left. And the dakiake that results into a wazari would be the one on the right. So you lift them up above your solar plexus. When you do lift them up, which one it is, either being a juko scoring one or a wazari scoring one, the referee will call mate, and you guys will start again in tachiwaza or stand up. When it comes to osaikomi, I see it a bit different than what it is in Olympic judo, because for me, osaikomi should be when you control your opponent. Now you have your normal side control, you have your mount, north-south, kesagatame, those type of osaikomi, but I also believe that osaikomi should be counted when you're on the bottom and you have your opponent in some kind of submission, but you haven't submitted them yet. That should also be counted towards osaikomi, because at the moment, you're controlling your opponent's body. Now for this reimagine of the rule, I thought if you hold somebody down for like 10 seconds in osaikomi, you'll be awarded a koka. We can change how many seconds. We can, let's say for every 15 seconds, you hold your opponent down in osaikomi, you'll be awarded 3 kokas. That is all subject to change. You have to play around with the balance. And I'll show you guys a bit of a picture what I mean. Going back to osaikomi is a control. The idea behind it is to control your opponent. As you can see, Cyborg's just putting a triangle on her opponent. She's in control at the moment. Therefore, I believe the clock for Osaikomi should start counting towards her favor. Going for some more, as previously stated, omoplata. You can see while it's not the conventional Osaikomi, the guy is still in control and still threatening his opponent with the submission. Again, same story with armbar, knee on belly. Then you have the low mount, some more Osaikomi, so you guys can see. Crucifix. I believe crucifix should also be counted towards Osaikomi because, again, you're controlling your opponent. And then you also have, if you have your opponent's back and you have two hooks in, that should also be counted as Osaikomi. This will prevent people from turtling too much. You can still turtle if you like, but you should be aware that they can put you in Osaikomi. Again, back take. Body triangle can also work for Osaikomi. The idea behind Osaikomi, for me at least, when I see people fighting in Jiu-Jitsu, they're too comfortable off their back. And you can also see that in MMA, some Jiu-Jitsu players are way too comfortable off their back, which results in them getting punched more than necessary. Some ideas of what's allowed and what's not allowed. Of course, this is something I just came up with, and it's obviously subject to change and some general illegal action. Now, the idea behind this video, it's more to have fun with things, think of ideas of how we can make judo better, what we can change, all in all. Uh, Kind of like a brainstorming session. So if you guys have any ideas, recommendation, criticism, they're all welcome. Just let me know. And thanks for watching.